Hare Krishna, all of you.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome you all on the auspicious day of Sri Ramnavami. And firstly, I would like to invite Mataji, Jaganesh Prabhu's good wife. She came to UK, and we can see Prabhuji's face glowing because of her presence. And it's a habit to us to invite you to our congregation. We are really happy that you are a part of our family. And I would like to say 3 times Haribol to Mataji and formally invite her.
Haribol! Haribol! Haribol!
So this is your family, Mataji. This is our family, Bedford congregation. So he is Sailesh Prabhu, owner of the house. So we'll move on. Firstly, I'll start with the prayers. Please, while I'm reciting the prayers, please meditate upon your spiritual master's feet. Then we'll start into the class. श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रं दीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवं यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नादयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मा व्यामोहतस्तटितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये मातापिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य न कुलपते रघुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रिकुलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वयपट्टनाद श्रीभक्तिसारकुलसैकर्योगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकालितेन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यं गुरुमुख्यब्दे तुलाशुक्लपदमे स्वातिवेशुवे प्रादुर्भूतं गुरुं वन्दे श्रीमन्नारायणं मुनिं नारायणार्यतिशेखरपादभक्तां गोपालदेशकुलसमस्तबोधं श्रीजानकीचनार्पितमानसाब्जां नारायणचरिमहं प्रपद्ये कास्यपानसञ्जातं नारायणपदाश्रितं श्रीमन्नारायणं वन्दे यतीश्वरश्रियाजुषम् ॐ अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः. So first of all, happy Sri Ramnavami to all of you. And we'll look at the first context of today's subject. What are we going to discuss today? And then we'll move on. As Indians or people who follow Vedic principles, almost all of us here are called Vedikas. So we base our life on Vedas and on subjects of Vedas. So the question to generally when we hear of Ramayana or Mahabharata, we keep saying, because we base our life on Vedas, why should I go into Ramayana or Mahabharata or any Puranas for understanding it? Just studying Vedas is not sufficient for our life to practice it. That's generally the question that I ask, that first of all I myself ask to me. Because when we base our life and when we are called ourselves Vedikas, or the people who follow Vedas and leading their life according to Vedic principles, it's not just sufficient to understand Vedas. Why we need Mahabharata, why we need Ramayana, and why we need all the Puranas, 18 Puranas and 18 Upapuranas and Agamas, which are called Vangmaya. So they are called the extra subjects of Vedas. So why do we need all of them? So did you get the question? Why do we need all of them when we base our life on Vedic principles? So for understanding it, it is said that Vedas are called Upabhrumhyam, in the sense the subject matter. Whereas the Puranas and the Ramayana and Mahabharata are called Upabhrumhanam, which means that one, the subject matter which is emphasized more. Which means that if there is principle in Veda, that can be interpreted in any other way by many people. But the actual interpretation has to be done by the person who understands it. That is the place where we get the concept of Ramayana or Mahabharata. For understanding of the Veda principles, how to lead a life or how to understand Veda is given in Mahabharata or Ramayana or any Purana. So if I just say I just only follow Veda, that will not sufficient for our life, because we can't understand properly what it is. So we need somebody who followed it. So that is why all the Puranas came, all the Vedas, all the Ramayana and Mahabharata are all for us. So that is how we have to understand. To make it more clearer, they were given. So when we say Vedikas, we just don't make ourselves on Vedas, but it's a combination of Vedas and the Puranas, which are called Vangmaya. Basing upon these two, we consider our life as Vedikas, not just basing on Vedas. If we just follow Vedas, it will be a different approach. But for understanding of Vedas, we have to have these things. So just making it more clear. So which means that Ramayana or Mahabharata is not something out of somebody's head. It is truth that has happened, and according to what happened, according to Veda principles that people who led their life. That is what mentioned in Ramayana and Mahabharata. That is what I have to understand. So, if we see what is Sri Ramana all about, everybody here should be knowing it, or sometimes we can say we know also of Ramayana, isn't it? Let's take a snapshot, or like a quick view what Ramayana is about. There is a protagonist, a hero called Rama. His wife is there. She was kidnapped, a heroine, and by a villain, Ravana. So Rama went all the way to Lanka, got her back. Like any other story in movies. Is it not? Is there anything else in Ramayana apart from this? Rama is there, good boy, nice person, followed very principles. And then his wife is there, Sita, Mother Sita is there. She was kidnapped, taken by a villain, Ravana. He went and got some friends, Vanaras, went to Lanka, got Sita back, and came back, ruled the kingdom. Is there anything else in Ramayana?
Hanuman.
Okay, Hanuman is there. So his friend is there, Vanara, a friend of Rama, who took, Rama took the help of Vanaras. So they went and they got the Sita back. They defeated. So a small fight at the end of the climax. Anything else apart from this? Yeah, Bharat is there. It's a big family. Kabhi Kushi Kabhi Gum family. And they got a big family there. So anything else?
It's real.
Yeah, it's real. That's what it is. So because it's based on Vedas, it's real. They led their life and that's real. It's not an allegory or something like a mythology. It's a fact that has happened. Lanka is there. Ayodhya is there. Pampa is there. And the rivers are there. Godavari is there. Chitrakoota is there. Rishyamukha is there. Bridge is also there. Everything is there. Which means that Ramayana is for truth. It has happened. Somebody might deny, somebody don't matter. It doesn't matter. Yes, Prabhu.
See, we can learn so many things from Ramayana.
Ramayana.
Yes.
Yeah. For example, like how Ram has led his life.
That's correct.
Okay. What are the principles he followed?
Yes.
Huh? For what he gave prominence and what he did not give prominence.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. If you take life of Ravana,
Hmm.
what is his prominence?
Yes.
And by doing so, what is the effect on the family and society?
Yes.
So this we can understand,
Hmm.
so that we can take the right path and follow it.
That's true, Prabhuji. So if it is, like Prabhuji was saying, if that is not there in Ramayana, it should be some other, like any other story in Bollywood or any other story in what we are seeing now. And that must have been done and must have been forgot also. But still, Ramayana has happened somewhere about some thousands and thousands of years ago. But still it is cherished. Because there is so much of information there where a man can perfect his life. Just by looking at the Ramas, the way he led his life, people can understand and get the essence out of it and then lead their life. If that is all it is mentioned in terms of getting Sita back or just like an antagonist or protagonist, if that is all there in Ramayana, it would have been like something in the history, in the past. But it's not like that. Even now it is considered as the holy book which can understand so many things out of it. So Ramayana is so much there in the life of the people, in the Indian society. So there's so much in Ramayana, but now we are going to focus on a few bits of it and then we'll move on. So what is, first of all, we all know the meaning of Ramayana, isn't it? You know the meaning of Ramayana? The word Ramayana means?
There are multiple meanings, Prabhuji. Like
Yes. Yes, Ramayana, but the two words, Rama and Ayana. So what is the meaning of...
Ayanam is walking the path you took.
Exactly. So we say Uttarayana, Dakshinayana, which means that the path taken by sun, going to the north or going to the south. Likewise, Ramayana means the path taken by Lord Ram. If Valmiki wanted to say something about Rama, he would have said Ramacharitra. But why did he say Ramayana? Which means that he doesn't want to talk about Lord Rama. He wanted to talk about the path taken by Lord Rama. It's not just about Ramayana. Ramayana is not just Rama. Rama is a hero. He's a god. He came. He did something. He went away. He ruled for 11,000 years. Not that. The significance or emphasis on Ramayana is not about Lord Ram at all. It is about the path taken by Lord Ram. That is what you have to understand. So what is the path? That we'll discuss today. What is Ramayana all about? It's not about just capturing, getting a wife, going back and getting that. It's not about that at all. There's something higher in Ramayana which we'll discuss now. We'll try to discuss, not completely, because Ramayana is so vast. It is almost like they say Vedopa Brahmanam, which means that the complete Veda is there in Ramayana. The 24,000 slokas, it was said that Ramayana is about 100 crores, 1 crore slokas. Sata Koti Pravistaram. It's like 100 crore slokas. But all we have is 24,000 slokas, not even 1 lakh like Mahabharata, 24,000 only. That also we struggle to understand, but still we try to get a glimpse out of it. See, we'll understand, before going to I got a question for you to ask, before going there. So, okay, I'll ask the question first, then it'll be easy for us to understand. Who is Sri Rama? 2 options, I'll give options before you choose. God or a human being and a king of Ayodhya? God. Both. How many of you vote for A? God. Okay, how many of you vote for B?
Is God that came down
A God
as a human being?
A God who led his life as a human being and a king of Ayodhya.
Yes. If I want to read, okay, that's good. Both. So how many of you both? Both. Okay. If we see Rama as God, I'll stop the class here. You can go back home because everything done by God can be done. What is the point of it? Huh? Okay, after Prashad we'll go home. But if we see as a God who came as human being, then also there is no point of seeing Lord Rama at all. Because if we say Lord Rama led a very righteous life, then we excuse himself saying that because he is God. Because he is God, he can lead a pious life. Because he is God, he can do things. Because he is God, he led a very, very good life. Because he is God, he can mingle with everybody. Because there is excuse there. He is God. None of the Acharyas taken Lord Rama as God. They have seen him as a human being. Of course, he is God. But for us to understand, we have to consider him as a human being. We'll make it clear. If I tell you this thing, then you'll understand. We all know that there is a problem with Ravana. And when Dasharatha Maharaj is doing his yajna, all the devatas came. Then Lord Brahma came. Then they all started telling to Lord Brahma that there is a big problem with Ravana. And then Vishnu also came. And when Vishnu came, then they said, "My dear Lord, please come and help us." And what did they ask? Can you please come and fight with him and then help us? Okay, we'll go to that bit later, but still they said there's a problem with it. So Brahma said, this Ravana cannot be killed. But yet there are 2 things Ravana didn't ask for, which is like one for human beings, one for Vanaras. Because he has seen Vanara and Nara are of no match to him, of his valor. He is so great, really is great, which we'll discuss later on. Because of his valor, he said, Nara and Vanara, they cannot do anything to me. So I just ignore these 2 in my list of all the people whom I cannot be killed. So all the denizens, the heavenly gods, they said, "Oh my dear Vishnu, please come, fight with him, and then we know her." So he has to come as a human being. If the heavenly denizens or the Indra and the co, if they had just said, "Please come and save us," then he would have designed his own plan. But what did they ask? Can you please come, fight with him, and then save us? So again he has to check out a plan. How can I fight with him? So these, we can't even ask properly to God. To ask, if you want to ask anything, let the planning be given to him only. We plan and we make it so bogus. Everything becomes like a mess. Just leave the planning to him. We ask him, leave the planning to him. But what did they ask? You come and fight. So he has to come, check out a plan, fight for it, and then kill him. Okay, that's a different story. But that's how it is. So, is Ravana killed or not killed? Ravana killed. If he has to be killed, by whom he was killed? Ram. So Ram has to be a human being. Is it not? Or else Ravana shouldn't be killed. Because Ravana asked clearly that I should not be killed by Vanara or Nara. He is not Vanara because he is born to Dasharatha. He is a king, he is a man. So he is a man. Is it not? He is a man. So he came as man and he lived as a man and then he killed, then he came back. So what is the proof? Where is the proof that he is a man? He himself declared, I am a human being and I am a son of Dasharatha. I am not God at all. At the end of the battle, as usual, the devil agents came and Indra came and they said, "Oh my dear Lord, you are Lord himself, you are Narayana himself, you are the God." They said, "No, I am not the God. I am Rama and I am the son of Dasharatha." That's what he said. So he is not, don't see him as God. He is a human being. Making emphasis again, he is a human being. With that notion, we have to go on. Then you'll, okay, if I move forward, then you'll understand. So the answer to the question is, He's a human being and a king of Ayodhya, not God. Of course, he got the Amsa of God. See, Krishna is there. He clearly said, I am God. Aham sarvasya brahmo. Matta sarvam pravartate. I am God. Then he said, Shipam ilasuma subha nasurishya yonishi. If somebody criticizes me, I'll throw them into the hell. But see, nothing, any incarnation, they clearly mentioned, I am God. But Rama only said, I am not God. Because he is a human being. He acted as a human being. He is not God. He is a human being. Of course, he is God in one sense, but not like he didn't behave as God. He behaved as a human being. The reason why I am stressing this point so much is that the next of the class is going to be based on the human qualities, not on God qualities. God qualities we already discussed in Upanishad in the starting of the verse on the Purnamadam Purnamidam sloka. But now we are focusing on the qualities of Rama, who is a man. Now we'll move on, then you'll understand a little bit more about. So we can understand from here, there is Rama and Dasharatha Maharaj. We all know the story that Kaikeyi asked a boon, so he has to leave. You know, Dasharatha Maharaj has got 360 wives. Because he is an emperor, he can have those many. But I don't know how did he manage for those many. But he managed those many, so 360 wives are there. And he is a human being, not even God. Krishna can have 16,000. He is a God. But Dasharatha is just a man. He is so great, isn't it? Having 360 wives, managing them, so great. So he got 360 wives. And he got 4 children. Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrugna. Of course, Rama, Bharata, Lakshmana, Shatrugna. But the point is, when Rama has to leave, Dasharatha was crying so much, he started rolling on the floor crying. I said, I can't leave Rama. And finally he left his body. But he still has 3 more sons. And he got big family, he got a very big kingdom, he's an emperor, he got so many duties, he can be occupied with many administration works, but still he cried for Rama. That's one case. Let's move on to another case. And that's when Lord Rama is leaving from Ayodhya to forest because of the boon. And if you see at the back, just a picture, all the complete city of Ayodhya are after Rama. They said we can't live without Rama. Complete city, if we can say, okay, 1 family, 2 families is fine because they love so much. Immediate family is also fine. Relatives is fine. But a complete city is after Rama. Did you get the point? So the first case, Dasharatha, second case, Ayodhya completely. And here, Hanuma. Mataji. Good. So here, Hanuma is there. Hanuma is an embodiment of knowledge. He read the Vedas completely. Rama himself declared that he knows the Vedas. Hanuma knows the Vedas. But still, Hanuma behaved as a servant to Lord Rama. Utmost servitude. And what made Hanuma to be like that? That we'll discuss. So Hanuma is also a servant to Lord Rama. The complete Ayodhya cannot leave Lord Rama. Dasharatha cannot leave Lord Rama. And who else? Bharata. He is an embodiment of patience and tolerance. And this person, Bharata, he said, if I at least have some sort of association of Lord Rama, with the Paduka also, with the sandals also, I am happy with it. So he has to be like that. So why? Why do they love Lord Rama so much? What made them Lord? So, the question is, what made Sri Rama so loving? Dasharatha loved him. The complete city loved him. And Hanuma, who doesn't have any sort of friendship with Lord Rama at all, in the first occurrence, he started loving him. The moment he saw Lord Rama, he fell at the feet of the Lord. And again, Bharata, he has to really undergo so much of pain to lead the 14 years of life. But still, why? What made Lord Rama so loving? So here, I'll tell you this situation here. Then, in this situation, so Hanuma, Rama and Lakshmana has to come. They're searching for Mother Sita, and they came to a place called Pampa Sarovar. That's a place, and that's where a hill called Rishyamukha is there. And on the Rishyamukha Parvata, on the hill, there used to be Sugriva and the party. And one among the friends of Sugriva is Hanuman, because he's a king. Sugriva is to be king, though he's to be with them. And these two came. And Sugriva is so worried about Vali, his brother, that he is sending somebody to kill him. So he sent Hanuman to inquire who are they and all. The moment Hanuman came in disguise as a saint, as a sannyasi he came, and then he started asking Lakshmana, who are you both? And that's a situation where then after answering the questions, Hanuman fell at the feet of Lord Ram. Immediately. He put the disguise off and he became Vanara and then he fell at the feet of the Lord, saying that, my dear Lord, I am your servant. So in this situation, when Hanuman asked Lakshmana, who are you? Then he said the sloka. It's a very famous sloka in Ramayana. It says, Aham asya avara brata gunai dasyam upagataha krutagnasya bahugnasya lakshmano nama namatah. So the sloka is that. So Lakshmana says, Aham, me, asya brata, asya avara brata, in the sense, I am his brother by age, because I was born later on. Gunai dasyam upagataha. By his qualities, I am his servant. Did you get the point? By age, I am his brother. But by his qualities, by guna, I am his servant. Then he continued, Krutagnasya bahugnasya lakshmano nama namatha. Krutagnasya bahugnasya, in the sense, because of his righteousness, because of his gesture towards other people, I am became his servant. And because I was kept a name called Lakshmana, I am called by name Lakshmana. He didn't even wanted to mention his name. Because I was kept a name, Lakshmana. Nama, you should say, Lakshmano Nama Aham or Lakshmano Aham Namaha. He can say that. But what did he say? Lakshmano Nama Namataha. Because somebody kept my name Lakshmana, I was called Lakshmana. But my identity is, I am servitude to Lord Ram. So because of his qualities, that is the reason Dasharatha, the complete Ayodhya, and in fact, at one point of time, Lord Rama was to be coronated. He was to be made a king. So Dasharatha inquired everybody in the first place. Before he tell to Lord Ram that you are being coronated, he asked all the citizens in the court. My idea is, because I became very old, I'm at that time he's 60,000 years old. And he said, I wanted to coronate Lord Rama as a king. What is your opinion? Without any doubt, without any discussion, they said, we are happy with the decision. They started saying Om, which was happiness. Now we say A, but they say Om. So they said Om, and they are happy with the decision that what Lord Dasharatha has taken. And Dasharatha asked them, why are you so happy? Didn't I rule you properly? Am I not proper in my administration? They said, he is better than you. And he didn't even rule at the time. He didn't even start ruling the kingdom at the time. He is not even coronated. But still by his qualities, the way he led his life, all the citizens in the Ayodhya were happy to be him as king. And now we do elections. 50% voting. In the 50% also 20% only they will choose. And 70% they don't bother about voting at all. And they are rulers of the kingdom now. At that time, see, Lord Rama is taken as an unanimous decision that everybody is happy to have Lord Rama as a king. But why? Because of his qualities, of the gunas. So what are the gunas? So he is a man. What can you expect the qualities in a man? Did you get the point? So now we understood that because of his qualities, the gunas of Sri Rama, we understood that. So what are the qualities of a man? We know the qualities of Lord. He says Sausilya, and we got many other qualities. When we read the sloka of the Purnamadam sloka, we understood how many qualities the Lord has got. Sausilya, Vatsalya, Karunya, and so many. But he is a man. What can you expect in a man? That's the question.
He just obeys his father's word without arguing anything.
Yes, that's one quality.
Well behaved, respects everybody.
Yes, that's second quality.
Always truthful.
Satyavakya, that is third quality, that's same quality.
He is brave.
Courageous, yes, that's third quality.
He has daya, forgiveness,
Yes,
mercy and forgiveness.
yes, that's one quality. So for helping us, Valmiki asked this question to Narada with the human qualities. Those are the 16 gunas of a human being. To call ourselves a human being, we need to have 16 qualities. Only if we have 16 qualities, we are called human beings. Or else we are just Homo sapiens in scientific words. But the 16 qualities of Lord Ram, that is the subject matter of today. 16 qualities of Lord Ram. So how did Sri Ramayana took birth? What is the base and what it did start upon? So that is the question. So how it started is with a conversation between Narada and Valmiki. So Valmiki is, Valmiki, isn't it? Ratnakara became Valmiki, and the spiritual master is Narada, and that is how it is. And Valmiki started sitting and thinking about something. It's a big story, but we'll cut it short. So he's thinking about something, and Narada came. So then he started asking questions to Narada. A question to the best among the spiritual masters, to Narada, by the best among the disciples, Valmiki. So, a question to all of you is, what is the question?
Yeah, he asked, like,
Pariprashna Sevaya. Sorry. Pariprashna Valmiki Muripango. There is a sloka.
yeah,
He asked questions.
He asked, like, I want to write about a personality who is living currently and who has all these 16 qualities.
Yes.
Kon asmin loke
Sampratam Loke.
samparanam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gunavan Kasya Viryam. So the slokas are like this. Konvasmin Sampratam Loke, Gunavan Kasya Viryavan, Dharmagnasya Krutagnasya, Satyavaki Dradvrataha, Charitrena Chikoyuktaha, Sarvabhutesh Kohitaha, Vidwan Ka Samardasya, Kascheka Priyarsanaha, Atman Kochita Krodo, Driman Konasuyakaha, Kasya Pipari Devasya, Jata Rosha Samyuge. The first 3 verses, leave it at that, we will discuss upon later. Look at the last verse. Etat Ichyamyaham Srotum, Param Kautuhalam Hime, Maharshetvam Samartosi, Natum Evam Vidam Naram. This is most important. The most important word to understand here is Naram. The question by Valmiki to Narada is about a man, not about God. So he clearly mentioned there, I wanted to know about a man, a Nara. So what is the meaning of the last sloka? This is just like a literal meaning of it, but this is not the real meaning, but I want to discuss here, so I just made a note here. All this I wish to listen from you. What is all this? All the 16 qualities that were mentioned above in the first 3 slokas, he wanted to listen from whom? By Narada, because he is an elevated spiritual master. He wanted to learn from him, and he is so inquisitive. Param Kautuhalam. If you can say Kautuhalam, I am inquisitive to learn. But he said Param Kautuhalam. I am so much inquisitive to learn about this person. Is there any person like that? So the context is that he was so moved when Mother Sita was left by Lord Rama into the forest. And before that, what happened is he saw 2 birds and one was shot. And then they were separated. The birds were separated because one fell and it was separated. And here he has seen a human, Mother Sita, being separated from Lord Rama. So because of separation, he got so depressed and he was thinking, is there any person in this current world who is having the 16 qualities like a human being? Is anyone behave like that at all? So with that, out of frustration, he asked the question. What is the question? I wish to listen from you. I was so moved and I was so disturbed. I am so much inquisitive to learn from you if there is any person who has got all the 16 qualities of human being. Then he moved on with the 16 qualities. So what are the qualities that a man should possess? In the first verse, Gunavan, character, and a Viryavan, strength and energy, are capable enough. Dharmagnasya, observing rightness in behavior. Krutagnaha, gratefulness. Satyavakyaha, truthfulness. Dhradavrataha, determined in his deed. This will constitute the first verse. Likewise, second verse. One who is knowledgeable and put into actions to love all and think and do good to all. Vidwan and Samardaha, they both combined together. Knowledge backed up with determination. Eka Priyadarshanaha, being lovable by all. That's the second verse. And the third one. Brilliant one, no jealousy. This is very difficult to understand. No jealousy means we are human beings. So we have that in a very good quotient. But still, we shouldn't have no jealousy to be a human being. Well, this is as per the saint Valmiki. And he was affirming to be a human being, you need to have all these qualities. He is not talking about any devotee. Forget about devotee. He is talking about a human being first. At the end of the class, you will understand. First of all, being a human being is more important, then you can be a devotee easily. So anyway, we'll go there, but still. So these are the qualities, the 16 qualities that were mentioned by Valmiki to Narada, asking if there is any person in this current world, in this present world, in a sense at the time, when Valmiki is living there in the Ayodhya and all, he is asking this question. So, because these 16 qualities will take at least 4 to 5 hours to understand, I spoke with Adhan Prabhu and finally we decided to go with only 8 qualities. Later on we'll see if we get a chance, we'll see the remaining 8 qualities. So I picked up the ones which are relevant and easy to finish off in a time span. So the 8 qualities today are these 8 qualities. Gunavan, Viryavan, Dharmagnaha, Satyavakyaha, Sarvabhutechu Kohitaha, Atmavan, Jitakrodha, and Kasya Vibha Devasya, Jatarosha Samyage. So these we'll focus today, and then when we get chance, we'll see the remaining. Okay, so you got a snapshot of it, then we'll move on to the next one. So we are going to discuss only eight of them today. Okay, now we'll see the three enemies. We have many enemies, but generally speaking, a person who is born, even though he got so many friends, he will definitely have three enemies with him. Those three are the birth. Birth in the sense not just being born. In the family of birth, people will be having such a false philosophy in their head that they think being born to a higher class called Brahmana or Kshatriya class or Vaishya class or Shudra, basing on the class, they'll differentiate people. So that kind of ego or pride will be there in their head that I am a bit superior to others. Don't know what superiority they have got in them, but still they feel that I'm superior to others. And the funny part out of it is that we don't control our birth. We don't have any control of what we are taking the birth. But we are born based on previous deeds. But we don't control in which family you are going to be born. But still they keep posing themselves as a big heroes. They say I am the best in society because I am born in a Brahmana class, or I am born in a class where there are a lot of people. So much of community is there. So I am born in that community. I am great. So that kind of ego is there. Pride will be there. So that is the biggest enemy, the birth. And the second one, wealth. This at least once in our lifetime we have seen somebody in our community or in our circle of in our area of domain. We would have seen this. Having wealth, they'll pose as if they are the most wealthiest in the world. Because they have the complexity, because I'm superior to them because I'm wealthy. So that pride is there. And that's one enemy. And the knowledge. This I don't need to mention. We can easily understand. People in the society learning 10 slokas of Ramayana or 1 or 2 cantos of Ramayana or Bhagavatam, they feel like I'm just born out of Vyasa now. Because of Vyasa initiated me now. I can tell anything, everything. I know everything. As if he knows, he himself compiled the Brahma Sutras. I know 1151 sakas of Vedas also. That kind of pose they'll give. So that is knowledge. Not everybody, but there is one of the enemy to a human being. So the question to understand, are they good or bad? Not the ego. I'm telling about having these three as their own. Are they good or bad? It's subjective, isn't it? The way we deal with it. It's subjective to persons. If I say a knife is good or bad, in the hand of a killer, it's bad. In the hand of a doctor, it's good. So likewise, these three, if they are used properly, and if they are utilized properly, then they are good. But if you start posing or seeing somebody as inferior to what we are, then they are bad. So we are not going to discuss on this, but still, just so what should we do as a human being to behave like a human being, and having these three, and at least one of it, what should we do? We have to overcome the temptations. There is a chance that anybody will be subjected to temptation of having these three, having wealth, to see somebody who is inferior to you. We might do something about it, but still control it. And the second one is, we have to steer clear of their evil influence. There is a chance of evil influence. We have to make sure that we don't fall into the pit of that one. And cultivate a spirit of easy familiarity with all and mingle with all on equal terms. So, okay, you are rich because of your past deeds or mercy of the God, you became rich, fine. That doesn't mean that you have to go on to others and keep saying that you are inferior because I earn much or I am knowledgeable. You don't know anything. You are just born in spirituality. I am born somewhere about 2-3 years ago. I know all the slokas. In every chapter I'll tell. In any Upanishad I can tell. In any Purana I can tell. So I am that great. So that kind of thing should not be there. So these are the three enemies which are considered as the most difficult to overcome in our life. So these are there. So let's look at how Lord Rama behaved. Birth, he is a Kshatriya. At that time, he is the topmost class. And wealth, he is the son of an emperor. What else he need? And knowledge. This is very important. Knowledge. Who is the guru of Lord Ram?
Vashishta.
But where did he learn the subject? He's a family guru, is Vasishtha. Vishwamitra. You know Vishwamitra, isn't it? Everybody of us know Vishwamitra. Very great sage. But what makes him so great? One of the greatness. Somebody of here chant Gayatri, isn't it? The Gayatri is there because it's a part of the universal creation. It's there in Gayatri always. But the person who sees that is called Drashta, the one who sees it. And Vishwamitra is the one who saw it. He is the propagator of Gayatri. Not just one Veda. First of all, I have to understand that Gayatri will be there in all the 4 Vedas. As per the Sama Veda will be there, Rig Veda will be there, Yajur Veda will be there, Atharva Veda will be there. So Gayatri will be there in all the Vedas. According to that, he propagated four types of Gayatri. One Gayatri only, but he is Drashta for all the 4 sakas. So he is that great. He is not an ordinary saint or somebody who just born and learned some knowledge. He is not that kind. If he is a so normal person, why will Lord Rama choose him to be a guru? He is very great. And I'll give one more example. There is a... One second. There is one clan called Nivata Kavacha. That's a clan or a race of demons which lie in Patala, in a very deep in the bottom of the creation. They are so great in their prowess, nobody can defeat them. Ravana tried to defeat them. Cannot even approach them. They are so powerful. They won't come out. They are very strong. They are called Nivata Kavacha. And finally what they did, Ravana has to go and speak with them and come to terms with them. So he negotiated. He cannot defeat. So they were so strong. So they are defeated by Arjuna. If you see Mahabharata, you'll understand this. Arjuna went down and they defeated all of them. You know the family tree of Arjuna? Vishwamitra's root. Their family root is from Vishwamitra. So he is so great. There is no question of asking that Vishwamitra is something like a normal saint or he is subjected to some illusions. He is out of the sphere. He is so great. Vishwamitra is so great. So he is chosen as the guru of Lord Ram. So, okay, I'll tell you this understanding. You'll understand better. Some of us are here initiated. Before getting initiated and after getting initiated, in a sense, before going to spiritual, just in front of Maharaj, you stood in front of Maharaj, Maharaj initiated, and you moved on from one place to other place. What change did you observe? 2 legs, 2 hands, same body. After initiation, same body. Before you ate the same thing. After you eat the same thing. Before you have hair, after also you have hair. It's not that your hair becomes spikes or 2 horns come out of it. No change. Then what is the difference before initiation and after initiation? You perceive things differently. You see everything to be beautiful. You see the presence of Lord. Because of your mercy of spiritual master, you can everything what you see as a part and parcel of Lord. Before that, it's a doubtful whether can we see or not, because there is so much of karma on us, we cannot see. Because of the mercy of Guru, we understood that everything present is one of the amsaya of Lord. So that is how we see. Then we see everything to be beautiful. That's called Saundarya Darsana. We see everything to be beautiful. Everything in the creation is so beautiful. That is the difference. Not that we become something different. The perceiving capability of us changes. Before that, we see a worm as a creature. Now we see a worm as one thing which has got God in it. The presence of God is seen everywhere. That is the difference between before getting initiated and after getting initiated. Likewise, how was Lord Rama before Vishwamitra and after Vishwamitra? Did you get the question? He got Vishwamitra now. Before Vishwamitra, how is he? And after that, how is he? Lord Rama, what we are discussing, is like that because of Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra is seen only in the first 2 cantos. He taught him, and after that he is never seen. And everything that was followed by Lord Rama is because of Vishwamitra only. The Guru capability is like that. He just initiate you. And that's it. The power will be there with him, with the Lord, with the disciple. He will be whatever action he has done, he will be reflecting the guidance of spiritual master. That is how Vishwamitra is. He taught and he left, the best of the Gurus. Lord Rama, he followed what he has said, the best of disciples. That is how it is. So knowledge is given by Vishwamitra to Lord Rama. And imagine how nicely he would have shaped him. So anyway, we'll see how Lord Rama behaved, having the birth, knowledge, and wealth put together in one person. Sometimes we can see birth to be there, or sometimes we see knowledge, or sometimes we see wealth, or sometimes permutations and combinations of both the three. But here, Lord Rama has all the three. And how much ego or pride should Lord Rama have? And we'll see what did he really have or not. Who is he here? Guha. You know raising, you tell. Don't raise, next time tell the answer. So Guha. Guha is the head of the clan of a fisherman. Not even a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, no, the Brahmana. He is the head of the clan of fishermen. And how did Lord Rama behave with Guha? Generally, when somebody is coming, what do you ask? When did you come? Then, you know what Lord Rama asked? Oh, my dear Guha, you came by walking. How will they come? Walking only they will come, isn't it? He is so dear, he has seen Guha as a non-entity. He is a very good friend of mine. So you don't have the difference of that I am Kshatriya and he is a fisherman. Not like that. He has seen him to be on same par of excellence as he has got. He has seen Guha as a living entity and the presence of God in him. So he said, he is my friend, very good friend. Oh my dear friend, you came all the way walking to see me. You are so nice. So, how will the people will come? They come by walking only, isn't it? So they came by walk only. Why should we ask? That's the concern Lord Rama has got towards Guha. It's not that he is ridiculing him. You came by walk, I came by a chariot. You are such a low class, I am high class. It's not that. You'll see what Lord Rama said at the end. War is completed. Ravana killed. So he told Hanuma, now you go and tell to Bharata that I am coming. And before you go to Bharata, stop at Guha and say that I am coming. So he said, first go to Guha and then you go to Bharata. Then he said to Hanuma, because Atma Samasaka, an equal match to me in friendship. He is such a nice person, an equal match to me. So he, being Kshatriya, he made him equal in par with him. That is Lord Rama. He didn't tell this word in presence of Guha. He tell out of the presence of Guha, which means that he has no tinge of that calamity, of that pollution, having this birth as superior complexity in him. So he told to Hanuma that make sure that you tell to Guha that I am coming. So that kind of friendship he has got. So he didn't say any difference in his birth. And then Vibhishana. Lord Rama is a human. Vibhishana is a Rakshasa. He is not even human. Then also he didn't show any difference basing on birth. He acted as equal as he acted to another human being. Being a Rakshasa, he is just like a more degraded clan. To be frank, humans are a bit better than demons. But still he behaved same. And other is Sugriva. You have to see the episode how Lord Rama made friendship with Sugriva. Then you'll understand the real friendship is. What we see today, friendship is not friendship at all. The friendship is there. The slokas which tells about the friendship of Lord Rama and Sugriva is so nice and excellent that reading that you'll understand how you have to behave with your friends and how your friendship has to be like. Nowadays you just put your hand on other person that he's my friend and that shows of best friendship. That is not at all the friendship at all. You have to see how Lord Rama behaved with Sugriva. Sugriva is a Vanara, not even a human being or Rakshasa. He's a Vanara, he's an animal. Did he show any difference? He made friendship as equal to as he made friendship with the fisherman. No difference at all. That is what Lord Rama is. So, why are we discussing all this? This is one of the quality of a human being. That's called Gunavan, one who possesses character. Character of what? Shouldn't have any difference of what you are having. And shouldn't show any difference in when you mingle with others. That is what a character is, as per our acharyas. So next, we move on to the next quality. So this is one of the quality in today's class that we discuss Gunavan. So you agree on this, isn't it? Lord Rama is the epitome of Gunavan. There is no tinge of doubt in this. So a doctor treating patients with some or many infections. So doctors see patients every day, isn't it? They keep on seeing patients. So all of them have got some sort of infection or some kind of infection, so they go to doctor. We just don't go to doctor and say, hello, how are you? I just came to see you. You won't see them in a hospital, isn't it? You see him in their house because these are friends. But if you go to hospital, he will treat you so many patients. And if you see, he is exposing himself to danger because he is treating all the patients of all the diseases. Is it not? If, for example, who invented X-rays? I forgot. Marie Curie. She invented X-rays.
No, not X-rays, Roentgen.
What did Marie Curie invent?
Radioactive.
Radio, something related to cancer treatment, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
So she did it because of cancer only. So the thing is, they are putting into danger by treating all of them. But still, they take abundant precautions to avoid catching infections, isn't it? You cannot see a doctor to be so always like a patient. He's a doctor. He takes precautions. They change the gloves. They keep a mask on their face so that they'll be apart from the infection. They take themselves a good diet and regimen. So they maintain their life properly. So this is a coupled thing in a character in the sloka. It says Gunavan Kastya Viryavan. You having all the qualities is fine, but how much you are capable enough to safeguard the qualities? That is called Viryavan. Strength and energy are capable of. What is the capable of? Capable of making sure that you have the qualities in you and to protect them. You have your Gunavan, which is fine. So that is the thing Valmiki has put together. Gunavan Kastya Viryavan. Is there anybody who is Gunavan, but at the same time who can safeguard their qualities, their character? If you see a fisherman, if you say he's my friend, nowadays they keep saying he's my friend. So we eat in the same plate, we sleep on the same bed. So which means that even though you have your own bed, you sleep in the same bed. So that is the intimacy that you show. So which means that you degrade yourself or you upgrade yourself, which without you having any qualities in you. So Rama is meeting with fishermen. Fishermen eat. They don't even do any rites in the morning. Like for example, Rama do Gayatri. Fishermen don't do any Gayatri. But when he say I met with fisherman, Lord Rama didn't give up his all the rites or all the activities that a Kshatriya has to perform. Is it not? He performed all the rites what he is supposed to do, but at the same time he mingled with everybody. So that kind of capability to safeguard your qualities is there in Rama. So that is called Viryavan, strength and energy capable enough to safeguard his qualities. That is the question Valmiki posed to Narada. Has anybody is there who has character and at the same time not deprived of any quality because he met with somebody else? So that kind of virility is there in Rama or not? Is there in a person or not? Clearly seen. Lord Rama didn't give up anything. Lord Rama, because of he spent about 6 months with Vanaras, he didn't behave like a Vanara. He behaved like a man only. Because after that he met the Rakshasas. He didn't behave like Rakshasa. He behaved like a man only. So like that. So he got all the qualities in him. At the same time, he got the capability of upholding the qualities. That is called Viryavan. So now we'll move on. Two pictures. Very easy to understand. Fire and water. So the natural quality of fire is burning. Hot and burn. It will burn. Yes. Water? Coolant. Probably you must be knowing coolant. Nuclear reactors. So the nature, the swabhava of fire is being hot, it will burn. And about water, it is coolant, it will cool. So it's a very simple question, very very simple question. What is the nature of man? Very simple question, isn't it? We are man only, isn't it? We are humans. We should know the qualities of ourselves. We know the quality of fire. We know the quality of water. We also know the qualities of humans. We are humans. What is the nature, swabhava of a man?
Agitated nature.
Agitative nature.
Think.
Thinking. Good. To serve. Nature. The swabhava of a man. To mingle with everybody. See, fire, it has got so many things to do. In a sense, for example, like as a soul, our position is to serve Lord. The constituent position of our soul is to serve Lord. As fire, its duty or its position is to take all the ahuti. In Vedas we say we do yajna, we offer so much of ghee in that. The duty of it or the position of it is to take them and give wherever we are supposed to give. So likewise, what is the nature of man?
Differentiate between good and bad.
Yes, that's a good one. Difference between good and bad. So we serve, we think, we do that. So let's see what those three or those qualities will be like. To be good, to do good, to make himself useful to fellow beings. That is the nature of a man, of a human being. But now how we are to make them happy with his services and to rejoice in their happiness. To contribute to universal well-being. Now we can have a big laugh at this. We are not doing any of this. We will never contribute to universal well-being. No question at all. At the modern living, we are not contributing anything at all. But that is the nature of man. We have to lead a very contented life with having everybody together, saying that everything is mine, everything is ours. So we have to, everybody is ours, everybody is mine. That kind of attitude have to be with the nature. But how we are being very narrow-minded. Everything is so docile now. Everything is debased. The nature of man is completely debased. What we are leading is a life. That's all. That's nothing else. So let's see what is the nature of Rama then. Did he behave like that? Very narrow-minded? He didn't. He is very broad, very loving. He is so caring about Vanaras. When at one point of time, when Vanaras fought in a battle, so they in the night they will sleep. But because Rakshasas are in the opponents, they can fight in the night. As per their laws of fighting, they can fight in the night. But Vanaras, they cannot fight because they follow the rules. So when they are following the rules, they have to sleep in the night because they will fight in the morning and they will be tired and they will sleep. But who will protect them when they are sleeping? Rama and Lakshmana used to stand and guard them when they sleep. You have to see the Yuddhakanda, the verses will make you cry. The way Lord Rama behaved with them. So nice, Lord Rama used to stand, he used to guard, Lakshmana used to guard all the Vandas when they are sleeping to take care of the, if at all they come back, Rakshasas come back. There is no mentioning of Rakshasas coming in the night, but still if they come, they might have a fight. So they used to guard. That is how Lord Rama used to be with Vanaras. And we can see in many occasions the way Lord Rama behaved with other entities. In the sense, entity in the sense, other fellow beings, or whether he is contributing to universal well-being or not. But anyway, we can understand this, that the nature of a man is to lead a life basing upon dharma, the Vedic principles. Assuming that God is everywhere, like Isopanishad will say, God is everywhere, existence of God has to be seen, and we have to treat everybody as a living entity and presence of God has to be there. That's called Saundarya Darsana, as we saw this before. So let's see here. What is the nature of Rama that we discussed now? This is a very wonderful pastime in Ramayana. So the war is going on. A very ferocious war is going on. And the son of Ravana, Indrajit, these Vanaras are defeating them like anything. They are bombarding and they are almost like at the edge of falling down. So what did Indrajit did? He went and did a sacrifice. He is in the middle of doing a sacrifice. If we get the sacrifice, then there is no question of Lord Rama winning over him. So he is doing the sacrifice. So that thing they came to know. Lakshmana came to know and Rama came to know. So Rama said, Lakshmana, I will take care of the army. You go there and you defeat that Indrajit. So Lakshmana went. So they started fighting there. There is a big army there because Indrajit is performing a yajna, sacrifice. The army is there with him. So they are fighting. But eventually Lakshmana is so ferocious, they defeat all of them. So finally Indrajit had to stop the sacrifice and come out to fight with him. If he stopped the sacrifice, again he had to start it. So likewise he stopped it, but he couldn't kill Indrajit. Indrajit is so powerful, he is almost equal in competence with Ravana. Almost like equal to Ravana. So he is so powerful. He is trying to defeat him. He couldn't defeat him. He used all the best of his arrows. He couldn't defeat him. So then finally he said one sloka, a very famous sloka. He chanted this mantra. He chanted many mantras, but that couldn't kill Indrajit. So then he decided this mantra. Oh divine arrow, if Rama is truthful and righteous, you must go and kill Indrajit now. Dharmatma satyasandasya Ramo dasari Paurushecha pradidhandva saranam Jahiravanim. Ahiravanim means the son of Ravana, Indrajit. You go and kill him if Lord Rama is righteous in his life. That is the mantra that he chanted. So what do you think Indrajit is? He collapsed. With last arrow he shot, Indrajit died. If I say, I use the same mantra and say, oh my dear arrow, I'm coming now, I'm going to shoot now. You go and kill somebody in wherever you, some false people, somebody like Islamist or ISIS or whatever, something going. I'll say, I'll use this arrow and I'm going to shoot it. Will it work or not? Definitely work, but not for us. Because our faith is so limited and so unbalanced. We will first of all doubt, will this work? Let us see, it will work or not. It will not work. Because we don't have faith in it. But if we had faith in it and try it, like Lakshmana did, the complete understanding of Lord Rama's behavior, so righteous. If Rama is so righteous, and I have seen him personally, and I'm happy that Rama is righteous, you arrow, I'm shooting you with this, you go and kill him. And he was dead. And that's how Indrajit died in Ramayana. He is unbeatable. Hanuman himself cannot beat Indrajit. Of course, he did try, but he couldn't beat. Finally, there is a different episode, but he couldn't win over Indrajit. So that is the potential of Indrajit. And he is not an easy person to handle. So Lakshmana had to go and handle him. And Lakshmana used all the energy and all the potency that Vishwamitra taught them to kill him. No chance. And by the way, Vishwamitra is also the holder of Dhanurveda, Dhanurvidya. In the sense that the Veda, one of the parts of Veda is to use arrows. And Vishwamitra is the master of that. And he taught them. But yet he couldn't defeat Indrajit. The only arrow, the mantra that used was this one. And that killed him. That is Lord Rama. It's not an easy thing. So that is one of the qualities that we were discussing before also. Dharmagna. Righteousness in behavior and in living. Lord Rama is the benchmark of Dharma. The way we have to lead. See, that is the reason he has to descend as a human being to show us what we are and how we should lead a life as a human being, as a man. So we will move on now. We'll go to next. So here, the episode of Kaikeyi asking and the Lord Rama leaving. So the white one is Dasharatha Maharaj sitting there and so much worried that Lord Rama has to leave. He cannot do anything about it. So first of all he asked, well actually he didn't ask. Kaikeyi said to Lord Rama that your father's wish is to leave. So he immediately left. He said, okay, I'm leaving. Not what a problem, I'm leaving. And then Dasharatha said, okay, you are leaving, that's fine. Because you are Kshatriya, which means that you can fight and win over the battle. You defeat me and win over the kingdom. You be coronated. I asked you to leave, which is fine, you leave, but come back again, you fight with me. Anyway, I'll leave, I'll die because I'm old. You are young, you'll win over me easily. Take back your kingdom. And he has put so many counter arguments to Lord Rama saying that to stay back. He didn't stay back. Did he? He left. And then what happened one day? Finally, he's in the forest and Bharata came to know. Bharata came to Lord Rama. Bharata is, the verses are so emotional. Bharata is so moved. Just to the thought in his head that I have to be the king of Ayodhya when Lord Rama is there is like painful to him. He said, I am going to kill you, to Kaikeyi. And then he stopped. If I kill you, Lord Rama will not like it. So I'm not killing you. And then he left. So he came here. He came to Lord Rama and fell at the feet of him and said, please come back. You have to see the arguments put by him to Lord Rama to come back. Any person, if you see the arguments, will be convinced. Lord Rama is not convinced at all. At one point of time, there is one of the ministers called Jabali. He said to Lord Rama, finally, everything didn't work out. Vasishtha asked, nothing worked out. Bharata asked, he didn't come out. He said, no, I'm not going to come. I'm going to stand on the word that I have given, the truthfulness. Finally, Jabali said, he said, the last resort of calling back Rama, he said, who is father, who is mother? It's just a bond that has happened when they are in union and you are born. Why don't you come back now? You just take over the kingdom. What is there? Who is father, who is mother? That kind of stupid philosophy he put in. And Rama got so angry. If anybody had heard that philosophy, he would have gone bonkers out of it. He would have slapped them. See the way Lord Rama behaved. He got very angry. He got his eyes red, completely red. Then he said to Jabali, I am very, very sorry that my father has a minister like you in his court. That's it. He didn't say any other thing. To Jabari, the minister. What kind of stupid philosophy you're talking about? And he answered the question to Jabari in a way not like going against him, because he's elder to him. He's a minister. He shouldn't behave like that properly. He shouldn't go against him. So the qualities of Lord Rama is so nice to understand. He didn't get angry. Well, he got angry, but he didn't show off because he's minister. Second thing is he stood by his word that I am going to be in the forest only. So he understood. He behaved, well behaved, everything in one scene. So that is what is called truthfulness. The question to us: how about our truthfulness? Very good thing to understand, isn't it? We are also truthful sometimes, and we also behave properly. Again, sometimes we take resolutions, isn't it? Sometimes they say New Year resolutions. We also take resolutions, and that's like something like very funny thing to say. I took my resolution last year that I should reduce my weight, and this year also came. Nothing has changed. So the truthfulness is still there. Still there. It will be there only as it is. Nothing will happen. And what about our truthfulness in difficult situations? Being truthful is okay. Sometimes you try to be, but what about in difficult situations? Like Lord Rama, he was put so many questions against him. You are just like man. You can come back. Who is father? Who is mother? He's not your father. He died. He passed away. You come and occupy the kingdom. Those kind of points were put to Lord Rama also. It's so difficult to understand. See, at that time when Bharata came, he told the news that Dasharatha passed away. So he's already in a very depression state. So sad. But yet again, he put all the arguments that you can come back. Who is father? Who is mother? That kind of philosophy. So it's very difficult to handle. But Lord Rama handled such a nice way. That is how you have to handle a situation. See, it will definitely go for a flunk. Our truthfulness will just vanish. We will become like a proper demon at that time. If you are put in difficult situations and if you say, I want to stand on resolution. So that is how we have to be like. That's called Satyavakya, truthfulness. Be truthful. Whatsoever. If you take a word, or given a word, be on that. That is the reason we keep hearing this one. Dharmo rakshat rakshatha. If you protect dharma, it will protect you. Protecting dharma doesn't mean that putting it in a fridge or putting it in a carrier bag or putting it in something like in a safe. Protecting dharma means following it. You follow it, and that will definitely help you. Whatsoever, it will help you. Lord Rama did the same thing. He followed what he stood on. Satyavakya. He said, I have to follow my father's orders. I am following it. Whatsoever, it doesn't matter. He followed. That is the most important point that we have to get from this episode. Now let's have a look at I'll show you six different things. Then you'll understand. I'll tell you what the 6 different qualifies for. Jnanam, comprehensive knowledge of his origin, nature, relationship with creator above and fellow creatures around. We also have Jnanam. This Jnanam is something that we are the topmost. That is how we have to understand what knowledge we should have. And Dharmam. So we have knowledge, and to lead a life with the knowledge, we have to have some support. That's called Dharmam, the practicing way of leading a life. So conduct his in consonance with the principles of righteous living. And Ananda, when you are leading a life, it shouldn't make you sorrow. You should be happy and joyful when you are following that kind of dharma. And then finally what will happen is first stage will be Jnanam, and then you will follow dharma and you will derive happiness out of following it. And then you will see Saundara Darshanam. Then you will see you have the vision of equanimity. Everything is equal. Everything is Lord's entities. Everything is Lord. Everything is God's creation. That kind of vision you will get. And Priyam. Naturally, if you have that kind of vision, your heart will bleed for any problem that other man faces. Any animal faces. That's called, heart will become like a storehouse of genuine love. It's not like you get love at that point of time. It's genuine. When you see somebody suffering, your heart will bleed for it. That is the example. That is the meaning of Vaishnava. Vaishnava doesn't mean that one who follows Vishnu. Vaishnava means to a person, if he sees anybody in distress or any pain, your heart has to bleed for him. Oh my dear person, he's in distress. He's in an unhappy state, and you have to feel sorrow for it. If you have that kind of quality, you can call yourself Vaishnava, or else you can call yourself a devotee. Tyagam. Once you love somebody, then automatically you give up for himself or for herself or for itself. So that is called Tyagam. So what is this? Then you will see the universal love. Love everyone. So this is called the 6 stages of universal love. The first stage is to do it knowledge, and then you have to practice it by using dharma, and then you derive happiness out of it, that you are not leading a sorrowful life, you are leading a very happy life, and then Saundarya Darsana, and then Priyam, and then Tyagam. Naturally you will be like, I have to give it for it. I don't want to possess anything. Everything is for others. That's called the having universal love. Now let's look at my dear Rama. This is a sloka Valmiki gave about Lord Ram. One of the sloka in the first when he describing about Lord Ram. By the way, Valmiki never praised Lord Ram. There is never anything which praises Lord Ram by Valmiki. He never praised Lord Rama at all. In the complete 24,000 verses, there is no mentioning of Lord Rama is great. He said about the qualities of Lord Ram. He said about the qualities of everybody. With the description itself, we can understand by the variation who is great and what is a good way of leading. So the verse is, Rama feels very sad towards difficulties of men and feels delighted in all functions celebrated by people on the occasions of childbirth and the like, just as their own father does. He is happy when everybody is happy, like a father feels happy. I don't know how a father feels, but father feels happy, it seems. As a verse. Another thing is, Rama feels very sad towards difficulties of men. If you find any difficulty, he'll feel very sad. So that is what Lord Rama is. Let's look at a simple example out of the context, for the context. Jatayu. The scene there was that Mother Sita was abducted by Ravana, and Jatayu fought with Ravana. And Jatayu knows for itself that it cannot win over Ravana. It knows for sure, because Jatayu said to Lord Rama that I am a friend of your father, which means that when we are young we used to play together. And Rasada is 61 years, and Jatayu must be somewhere at the same age. And he fought, and he couldn't hardly fly, so he has to sit on a tree. So, but yet he put all the strength together, and he is of no match at all to Ravana. Ravana is so great. The power you have to see Ravana description, you feel like amazed. Can a man live like this? Ravana is so powerful, and yet he went and fought with Ravana, and he died. And it knows for sure that he is going to die, but yet it went and fought. He cannot see that my mother Sita is being abducted. He went and fought, and the scene is he fell down, and he is in blood. And Rama and Lakshmana came, and they couldn't find Sita, and they went in search of the mother Sita, and then they found this. They couldn't identify that it's even a bird. It's just a big pool and a big lump of mass of flesh. So it's still alive. Then Lord Rama thought it must be a demon who ate Sita, and he was about to take an arrow. And then Jatayu said, "I am already killed by Ravana. Don't kill me again." Then he understood that it is Jatayu. Then he came, and he started consoling him. Already Lord Rama is so distressed by the time. He is very unhappy, and he is very sad, and he is very worried because Mother Sita is not there. She got abducted. He is very sad about it. So, keeping that all the sadness aside, he cried for Jatayu. He said, "My dear Jatayu, we fought for my wife, for myself." And then he did the final rites of Jatayu. Rama didn't do the final rites of Dasharatha at all. Bharata came. Bharata said that he passed away. He cried, and he did some tarpana to him, but he didn't do the final rites of Dasharatha. He can do it at the time, but he didn't do. But for Jatayu, he did the final rites. To a bird, just a bird, it's a vulture. Vulture generally people don't keep it as a pet, isn't it? Vulture is hardly seen as a pet. It is seen as an dirty creature in terms of having it as a pet in Vedic principles. But yet he did the final rites for a bird. Imagine the universal love that Lord Rama had towards other beings. Now you make this question. Logic, you know? Logic, isn't it? Because Lord Jatayu risked his life, so Lord Rama showed love towards it. What's the great about it? If he not, okay, we'll see what is there. Question is valid, isn't it? It can be think in this way. We can think in this way. Is it not? let's see another episode where Lord Rama showed his epitome of being universal. So they are preparing for the army for the war, and Sugriva and they're having a meeting. Lord Rama is having a meeting with Sugriva and all the Vanaras, and then they finally seen 2-3 people coming on in the air. They look like Rakshasas, and somebody said it can be Vibhishana, and they're standing for the consent of Lord Rama to get down. So they're standing there. So Lord Rama sent Sugriva himself. Sugriva, you go because you are the king. It might be anybody. You go and get them here. And because he knows he's going to be Vibhishana, so he said to Sugriva, it might be Vibhishana, you go and greet him and come get them here. But Sugriva is completely reluctant because he's a Rakshasa, he's an opponent, we are going to fight with them. But Lord Rama said, but they are waiting for us with an Anjali, waiting for us to receive. So which means that they are surrendered. So don't worry about it. If somebody surrendered to me, then I will take care of them. Don't worry about it. So Sugriva went about 5 steps. And then Lord Rama called again. So Sugriva thought, might be, he said, no, he changed his mind. Lord Rama said, Sugriva, if he is not Vibhishana and Ravana himself, don't hesitate, get them here. So he don't see any other way in terms of when somebody surrendered to him, he got the equal unanimity in saying everybody as an entities. He doesn't have any repulsion towards anybody else. It might be even Ravana, but still fine. You get me here because he surrendered. And all his angry towards Ravana is gone. Because he doesn't, that is the universal law of Lord Ram. I'll tell you one more episode. Finally, Ravana is killed. And Vibhishana, Lord Rama told Vibhishana, see, Ravana is killed now, you go and do his final rites. Vibhishana said, no, he's not a nice person. He's dead now. I will not do his rights. Lord Rama said, the rivalry is gone. The person died. Now you have to go and do the rights. If not you, I will do the rights. Because he is your brother and you are my friend. He is as equal as a brother to me. That is what Lord Rama told to Vibhishana. So what is it? He is a benchmark and epitome of universal love. And that is one of the quality, Sarva Bhuteshu Kohitaha. It doesn't matter, a bird, an opponent, or somebody else. He is seen, everybody is equal. It might be that there may be some disturbance in them, but still he has seen with loving nature. That is what Lord Rama is. So the question of, since Jatayu risked his life to save Sita and Rama showed love towards him, cannot be valid. Because he showed love to any of the creatures at his times. So let's move on and we'll see one more quality. The ornaments of mind. We have seen the 6 stages of universal love. Now we'll see the ornaments of mind. Raga, attachment. Dvesha, hatred. Irsha, envy. And Asuya, jealousy. Well, I made it sarcastic. It's not an ornament, but still, we pose them as ornaments to our body. We all have them. In one sense or the other, we have them. You know the difference between Irsha and Asuya, isn't it? Envy and jealousy. You know the difference? Envy and jealousy? Pawan, you know? They look to be same, but there is a subtle difference in there. Let's say. Oh, yes, that's right. But I wanted to know the meaning of it. If you try to identify the difference, I'll tell you one analogy, you'll understand it. Let's say there is one devotee who is going to temple every day, and he is offering flowers to God, or is doing abhishek to Lord Shiva. Let's say like this. And there are 2 people standing there, and they know him. One person said, see how great he is, every day he is going and offering flowers to Lord. So other person said, oh yeah, he is going there. Oh, he is so great, he is growing, but I cannot go. I wanted to go, but I cannot go. That's envy. He is envying him. So same person is going. Other person said the same thing, that he is going every day. If the other person says, what is going? Because his office is that side only. So he goes to temple and then he goes by there. Because my office is this side, I cannot go this way. I cannot go that way. The temple is that way. So he is not identifying the quality, the good quality in the other person. He is trying to defame him. That's called jealousy. enviness is something that if you don't have it and somebody has it and you feel envy out of him. But if you don't identify the good quality of others and defame them and put them in the wrong direction, then it's called jealousy. And no need to explain all these qualities, isn't it? We know in good amount the qualities of envy, jealousy, raga, attachment, and obviously, see, these two are coupled. Envy leads to jealousy, and attachment leads to hatred. If something of ours is not going to be ours, and that leads to hatred. Attachment, contemplation, hatred, and then depression. What is the flow of explaining Gita? But anyway, that's Gita. So, what are we called if everything is under control? We control all these qualities. All these ornaments. We take them, we drop them. We take them, we drop them. If we have everything in control, we don't have anything in us. So what word are we called as? The Sanskrit word for it is Atmavan. Who knows the true nature of self? That nothing is for sure. Everything comes and goes. Everything is like, it will come, it will go. You have to be like Sthita Prajna. You have to be very calm. See everything as they come and leave it as they go. So, the question is Rama an Atmavan? Definitely an Atmavan. I will tell you why. Attachment. Let's take one by one. Attachment. He was told the last night, you are going to be coronated, make sure that you get ready by tomorrow. So he went, and next day morning he was said, you are not going to be coronated, you have to go to forest. Neither he rejoiced when he was said you are going to be coronated, neither he lamented when he said that you are not going to be coronated, you are going to forest. He has no attachment to the kingdom at all. Likewise, he doesn't have any hatred because towards his father. Father, you said yesterday night that you are going to get me an iPhone. Today morning you said you don't get an iPhone, you get some BlackBerry phone, some 5 pounds phone. So he started hating his father. No, not that kind of business. He doesn't have any attachment towards the kingdom. The task is there. He sees the task as both the same. At the end of the day, he sees that the father's instruction has to be followed. Father said, you go tonight, get ready tomorrow, come back tomorrow. So he went. No rejoicement out of it. Next day morning he said, you go to forest. Okay, I'm going to forest. So there is no any changes or imbalance in the mind or emotions. For Rama, they are same. So no hatred, no attachment. Finally, he went to forest. Let's say he had some attachment towards the kingdom. He went to forest. He must be crying in the forest. If at all he lost his kingdom, he must be crying in the forest. Why Bharata has got the kingdom? Because Bharata has the kingdom. He will be crying because if he likes the kingdom, rule the kingdom, he should be crying in the forest because my father said to me go, I have gone. But if you have the tinge of attachment towards the kingdom, what should you have done? When Bharata came and said, you take the kingdom, I said, okay, pack the luggage, you are going home. You should have said that, isn't it? He didn't say that. He said, I'm going to stay here only. He is neither envying Bharata that you have ruling the kingdom, nor he is jealous out of Bharata that you are not even capable enough to rule the kingdom. How can you rule the kingdom? You are my brother, I am your elder, I know more, I got Vishwamitra as my guru. He didn't say that. He said, you go and enjoy the kingdom. I will rule the forest. So he neither had attachment, nor hatred, nor envy, nor jealousy. That is what Lord Rama is. So anyway, he is definitely called an Atmavan. There is no doubt about it. He is an Atmavan. So let's move on to the last quality of today. It's a Mataji, Hanuma Mataji. So here the episode, Ravana was standing in somewhere in the sky high. So Lord Rama cannot fight with him. So Hanuman said, you are not in equal par with him. You climb on my shoulders. I will take you and stand you, put in the air, and then you can fight face to face. Lord Ravana is very ferocious in the battle. He started shooting so many arrows, killing so many vanaras. Lord Rama said he is not equal par. Something has to be done. So Hanuman said, okay, let take me in the air. I will fight with it. I will take you in the air. You can fight with him. So he has taken in the air. And Lord Rama is just on and on, releasing all the arrows. Ravana thought, because until now he couldn't fight, because he's down, now he came up, so he's fighting good to me. What I have to do is to break his balance, which means I have to fight with Hanuman. I have to make Hanuman to die, or to go down. Then only they'll go down. Then I can win over. So what he did, he changed all his arrows towards Hanuman. And Hanuman is bleeding. Until then, Rama is getting the arrows being shot, and he's having the problem. But Hanuman is just standing there, and of course he's getting one or two, and he's facing with it. But when Ravana changed his course of arrows towards Hanuman, all the arrows are hitting Hanuman so badly, and Hanuman is bleeding so much, and he has to go down a little bit. And Rama saw that, and you have to see the anger of Rama, and Krodam Aharayat. That's what Valmiki used. He imposed anger on him. He invited anger, which means that he didn't have anger, or he didn't go under the control of anger. He invited anger and he imposed himself onto anger. He surrendered to anger. And you have to see the fight that at that point of time he started shooting arrows in such a way that first of all the crown of Ravana went off. The chariot of Ravana went off. He's holding a bow like this. The upper part went off. The down part went off. He's just holding one stick. Nothing else in his hand. It is clearly mentioned in the Ramayana. It's not like I'm making up. He held this. And then he thought, why is he shooting arrow? I don't have any weapon. But still Rama started shooting arrows. Then he found that I had some stick in my hand. So he left that. Then Rama stopped shooting arrows. Because as per the warfare, the rules of warfare, you have to shoot something or go on a war only if somebody is armed. If nobody is armed, you should say, okay, fine, forget about it. I'm not going to fight with you. But Ravana thought, I'm not having any arrow, I don't have any bow also. What is happening? But still Rama is shooting so much. He killed the Sarathi, he killed the chariot, he took off the crown, he took the upper part of it, bottom part of it, just holding one thing in the air. Then he understood that I'm holding something in my hand. So he left it. And at that time, Rama stopped shooting arrows. Then he told to Ravana, go today and come back tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. Then Ravana has to go. Then he went. So the point here is, he got angry. He imposed anger on himself. It's not that he's surrendered to anger. Something like we get angry and we just behave like angry people, and then we leave it. But Lord Rama is not like that. Lord Rama imposed anger on him. He said, okay, you come now. I'll tell you an analogy, you understand. Mother is there taking care of kids. Kids are so mischievous at the time. So to correct them, mother will be so angry at the time. So she imposes anger just to correct them. And then she will leave it. It's not that she surrendered to anger, isn't it? She's not controlled by anger. She controls the anger. That is called conquering the anger. Not that, like we say, Goda Kesi, Arjuna. He conquered the sleep. It doesn't mean that he will not sleep. He will sleep, but up to his wish. If I want to sleep, I will sleep. Or else I will not sleep. Like Bhishma. He controlled the death. If he wishes, it will come. Or else it will wait. So that is called conquering. So likewise, Rama conquered the anger. If you want, it will come. Or else it will just stay there. He won't be surrendered. So that is Lord Rama. So it's a different episode here. So it's same thing. Lord Rama is fighting second day. Lord Rama is fighting so ferociously that the heavenly denizens, they thought, what kind of anger is this? We cannot even stand in front of him. The arrows were so fast, the people were falling down and they couldn't see how many arrows were going out. So they started seeing Rama is firing arrows basing on the people dying. It should be the other way around. When you release an arrow, people will die or the opponents will die, and they say, oh, he released an arrow and they are dying. But in this case, they start seeing people becoming down, and then they say, okay, Lord Rama is firing arrows. So that is the quality of a warrior, and Lord Rama is the epitome of it. He's just firing arrows so ferociously, and then Lord Ravana thought, Tam anye ragavam viram narayanam anamayam. First of all, I'll tell you what Ravana is about. Ravana is supremely powerful. He is very ferocious. He got all the skills a person can have. He mastered all the Vedas. He got the training from Vedas from his father, who is a Viswasa Brahma. He's a son of Prajapati. So he got proper knowledge. He's the best of the Brahmins. He got the knowledge of Vedas. At the same time, he is a son of a Rakshasi, Kaikasi. He's a cross of a Brahmana and a Rakshasi. So he himself classified himself as a Rakshasa, but anyway, he's a Rakshasa. He has all the knowledge of Vedas. So the knowledge of Vedas, how much it is, he made a note, he made a, what is it called, a connection or an index for Vedas, saying that this word has come these many times in Vedas. For example, if say Bhava. Bhava has come these many times in the complete Vedas. Or sometimes you say Shiva came these many times in Vedas. So that kind of mastery he has got on Vedas. So he know all the Vedas. You see, in the first step we are seeing about birth, knowledge and wealth. Lord Rama has both, all the three, and Ravana has got all the three. He got good birth, knowledge, wealth. He is the king of Lanka. So he is so unequal with Rama. But are you worshipping Ravana? Are you seeing Ravana as at least a man who is having the qualities? He has got the pride of all the three. But whereas Rama is not having this. We have seen in the previously. That is Ravana. So then he said this sloka to himself. Tamanye Raghavam is that man Raghava, that Rama, that Veeram, that warrior, so ferocious. Is he that Anamayam, who is inconceivable? Inconceivable Tattva called Narayana. Is that Narayana Tattva? Is he Narayana Tattva? Because he know all the Vedas, but he said the only Tattva that I don't understand is Narayana Tattva. Everything else I understood, but that I didn't understand. It's inconceivable. Is this warrior Rama, is that Tattva? And then he went for warfare again. Next day morning, then he died. So that is how Lord Rama fought with Ravana. People who saw that, they thought this is not an ordinary warfare. What kind of skills they are using? We can't use them. So even the heavenly denizens who are good at warfare got terribly terrified by looking at the warfare of Lord Rama did. That is the prowess and valor of Lord Rama. So putting these two together, the two qualities come up. Jita Krodha and Kasya Bibhi Devasya Jatarosha Samyuge. Conqueror of anger, and who, when provoked, even the gods will be afraid. By looking at his warfare, by looking at him, even they get terrified. And Lord Rama is a perfect example of that. So Lord Rama, being a human being, he is a perfect example of all the qualities aforementioned. So that is what it is. So let's go to the last beautiful slide. Conclusion. Very nice slide, isn't it? Let's conclude. Let's see the etymology of the name Rama. We know Rama, we say Krishna, but there is an etymology out of it. It's not that somebody just put their name like that. Like we were kept, my name is Dinesh, or just kept like that. It's not like that. For Rama or for Vyasa or for Krishna, they are not like that. Because they foresee what Lord Rama is going to be like. They named him as Lord Rama. They named him not Lord Rama. So Vasishtha has seen how this man is going to be like. Hence they put the name Rama. So what actually Rama means? There are three meanings you can derive out of Rama. Ramayati iti Ramaha. Ramate iti Ramaha. Ramate atra iti Ramaha. So what does it mean? Rama is one who makes others happy. Rama is one who looks on others and feels happy. Rama is one seeing whom others feel happy. That is what Rama put together. So Vasishtha has seen that he is going to be like that. And then he named it as Rama. In fact, if the point is, if Vasishtha has thought the quality of a man is to be more valor, he would have put something like some other name. But why did Vasishtha has to choose Rama? The reason is a human being has to be like this. You love everybody. You'll be loved by everybody. When somebody sees you, let them not run away from you, but come and greet you. That is how you have to behave. So now the question is, can we become Rama? We can, yes. If we follow all the qualities aforementioned before, all the 8 qualities or 16 qualities, we can become Rama. Not in the concept of being God. I'm talking in the concept of being a man. Yes, we can become Rama if we have all the qualities and practice them. It's not like in a day it will happen, but yet we have to try for it. And if we try for it, if we have all the qualities of Lord Rama in us, then what will happen? We will see the presence of God everywhere, which is like we become devotee. Naturally we become devotee. Not imposing ourselves into the concept of devotion. We'll naturally become a devotee. That is what Lord Rama is. See, when we see the Uttara Kanda of Ramayana, which is a last Kanda, emerged into that. So it said, in the kingdom of Rama, there are no thefts. In the kingdom of Rama, everybody is happy. In the kingdom of Rama, there is a big list. Rama ruled the kingdom for about 11,000 years. So in the 11,000 years, not ruled, lived for 11,000 years, something around that time. So there is no theft at all. They used to say the doors are kept open all the time. I don't know what I didn't read the sloka, but somebody said that there are not even doors for the houses. But I know that for sure that they don't close the doors. So that either that Lord Rama is so monarch and he made the rules so harsh that if you steal somebody, that your head will chopped off. That kind of rules. Is Rama ruled like that? He didn't rule like that. The people there doesn't even have an intention of stealing. The thought process is purified in the kingdom of Rama. He made sure that people doesn't steal, which means that he took the thought out of them. Stealing, pious life, righteous life. That is the capability which I was talking before in the slide of doctor. If you can induce your quality into others, that is what Lord Rama did. He made sure that the quality that he has is induced into his kingdom. Ravana ruled, but to take the concept of Ravana out of the earth itself, he has ruled for 11,000 years. So, which means that it is not an easy task to have the qualities in us. It might take effort, but yes, we have to make sure we have to invest our time in getting to that level. So that is what Lord Rama is about. So Lord Rama is a human being with all the qualities mentioned, and we can become Lord Rama only when we practice it. So okay, Lord Rama is somewhere about some millions of years ago. What is the point of me practicing it now? What is the meaning? What is the point of chanting his name now? Fine. Once if we remember him, once if we understand how he behaved, and if we can put into the practice into our daily life, then it will really help us. It's not that something happened somewhere years ago. Okay, we still believe it's not an allegory. It's not a mythology. It's something which is truth. It has happened. But still, having that faith is fine. But yet, we have to make sure that we practice it. We have to take him as a role model in our life. If we have Rama in our life, then everywhere is happiness only. And that is when we get peace. And Krishna said, only if you are peaceful, you will get to devotion. That is what we need. Peace and happiness in life. And Lord Rama is the best benchmark for us. We can take him as a role model and then proceed further. So this is part 1 of the qualities of Lord Rama. If you have any questions, then we will take questions for 1 or 2 minutes. Or else I will start reciting the slokas for Mangala slokas for conclusion. Any questions, Prabhuji? Jayakash, do you have any questions? Oh, she is there, you can ask questions, Prabhuji. She will not say anything, Prabhuji, you can ask.
I have a doubt. In one of your slides, in Indrajit.
Yes.
So in that the statement if is there. If Rama is righteous. So Lakshman already know that Rama is righteous. Why he needs to put an if there?
Very good question, Mataji. I'll put the slide on. Oh, where is the slide?
Yeah.
Right. So this is to tell the world to understand that Rama is truthful. He knows. Oh arrow, if Rama is truthful and you go and hit him, which means that if you get a doubt that is Rama really truthful or not truthful, so that question to be eliminated. So he has to use if to make sure that he also doesn't know, just to glorify Lord Ram, that his truthfulness is so high that okay, let's say he is doubtful, but yet he fired the arrow, saying that Rama is truthful, I know for sure, but if Rama is truthful, you go and hit him. So that is what it is. Just to glorify him more, as if he doesn't know anything about Lord Ram, and he is just giving a shot. If Rama is truthful. Now that Lakshman is really doubtful, but he knows for sure that Rama is truthful. Did I answer your question, Mataji?
Not only that, like suppose if one lives with someone closely, they may not see bad things, they may admire all the time.
It's emphasis on the more emphasis, isn't it, Prabhuji?
Yes. It's just to glorify Lord, saying that yes, for sure I know, he knows in his heart. Because Lakshmana said in many places that, like I said, because of his gunas I am a servant. In the second slide you are saying. So he knows that for sure, that Lord Rama is there. But at the warfare he used all his prowess, all the vidya, all the knowledge that he has got from Vishwamitra he used. but he was in a state of almost like, I'm going to lose now. What if he go and finish off his sacrifice? Then there is no chance. All the Vanas will be dead. Because the power that he's going to get after doing his sacrifice is so high and immense that all the race of Vanas will be eliminated. So he was in a doubtful mood, whether can I ignore it or not. Then he said, if Rama is there, truthful and righteous, you have to go and die. You have to go and shoot him.
Here it means certainty.
Yes.
Like you say, if I have done anything good in my life, bad shouldn't come to me. So we are like certain
Certainty, yes.
that we haven't done anything bad in life. So that's like certain, if shows certainty, see, that he's certain about it.
Yeah. There is also mentioning of Ramcharitamanas. Is that, I have not read Ramayana and Ramcharitamanas, but is that Ramcharitamanas different from Ramayana?
I have to read. Who wrote the Mataji?
Is it Ramcharitamanas, is it by Tulsidas?
Mataji, I heard about Tulsidas writings. We cannot take for granted, Mataji. What everything is in Tulsidas is not as per Valmiki Ramayana.
I think this morning Jagannatha Prabhu was saying that Tulsidas has mentioned his view of Ramayana. Original Ramayana is by Valmiki, and he said Ram incarnation is green, but Tulsidas has said is blue. So that's his view. Whatever inner view he had of Ramchandra, Lord Ramchandra, he has mentioned in his Ramchandra, whatever he said.
As far as the lifestyle of Rama is concerned, we take Valmiki as the base. Anything apart from, if anything is contradicting it, we will neglect it. We won't take it. But let's say other Puranas talk about Lord Rama in a different angle. In terms of little bit variations are there, we discard them. But if they talk about, for example, they talk about the birth of Hanuman. Hanuman birth is not mentioned in Ramayana. In terms of he's called Anjani Putra in Ramayana. But who is Anjani? How was he born? He's also called Vayuputra in Valmiki Ramayana. But how how Hanuman was born, and that is not mentioned in Ramayana. But that is mentioned in some other Puranas. But that is in accordance with what Valmiki has written. So that we consider it as right. But if they say something like the color is different, or Sita was, somebody said Sita cannot be touched. So something dug out of the land and they had to go up. Ravana has taken something like that. That is not in Ramayana, so we discard it. Sita Devi was touched. She was dragged by her hair and put on the lap of Ravana, as for Valmiki Ramayana. That is there in Ramayana. That is taken as bench. That is taken as the.
But it's also, I don't know whether it's also mentioned, I'm not sure, but that Sita Devi was never there. Sita Devi was went to Agni, and then it was Maya Devi. Was the Sita Devi.
That is not there in Ramayana.
That's not there.
If Sita is not there, then what is the point of we worshipping Sita Mataji? Mother Sita doesn't go to the hardships, and what is the?
No, she went through the.
I understand what you're saying, but that mentioning of Sita going to Agni before she goes to that Vana, and somebody, she called Maya, not Maya, Vedavati came out and she was taken. That is not in Ramayana.
That's not. But it's very clearly, repeatedly.
Shown in the movies also. They keep, for example, the story of Kevat, that boatman. That is not in Ramayana.
That's not in Ramayana.
See, it was said that Guha arranged a boat for them to cross over the river. That's all. The Tulsidas written that the Kevat came up, he took the Charanamrita of Lord Rama. That is not in Ramayana. So there are many things for the For example, in the movies also they show that Sita was taken in she couldn't be touched. So he couldn't enter into that, and the Lakshmana Rekha and all that. It's not there in Ramayana. Ravana came into the ashram, into that kutiram, the house. He has taken the food that Mother Sita has offered him. Then he showed his form, and then he dragged her out of the house, and then took it onto the chariot drawn by donkeys. So that is what mentioned. Then he has to go up, and he holded Sita on the hair, and he went up, and then Jatayu came. And then he saw being holded, and then Ravana couldn't fight with him with one hand. So he has to leave Sita on the chariot and then fought with him and cut his wings off. Because Jatayu is so with one punch he killed all the donkeys of the chariot. So he has to come out with a Vimana, that Vimana by Kubera, Pushpa Vimana. With that only they went back to Lanka. that is there in Ramayana. Not like they went on some soil came out, there's a big hole in the soil. It's not there. That is shown in say serials and movies, not in Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana.
Like in Valmiki Ramayana, Rama and Lakshmana, they don't show any divine qualities. They show only human qualities. Like even wherever Rama has been glorified by sages or anything, he says, no, I'm not, I'm only son of Dasharatha.
Yeah, he did not mention that I'm God.
He keeps saying this. Ramo Nama Aham Dasaratmajam. He said, my name is Rama and I'm a son of Dasaratha. That's all.
About the Ahilya pastime, is that in Valmiki Ramayana?
Yes, sir.
Is that there?
Yes.
But it's not shown as a stone touching.
Oh, yeah, not stone Mataji. See, for
She's
example,
meditating in the ashram when he comes and she gets up.
And
no,
Shabri?
Sabri is there.
Shabri.
Sabri is very good friend. Ahalya Pasam is something like this Mataji. What happened is the water part of the body is taken out with the mystic power. So which means that the lady or the part which was there was just air and soil, and that was laid there. So people take it as a stone. It's not stone. It's just falling there without water part in it. So when Lord Rama came, the Acharyas told, because Lord Rama is Vishnu, and near the Vishnu's feet, Ganga is there. So the water is there all the time. She got the body, everything purified at the time. That's how she got into life. So the water part is taken out. That's the science behind it. But if you see, Valmiki didn't mention all these things. Valmiki said, he came, the stone like, he said not stone like, he said lifeless object. So she was there, and Rama touched with his feet, and then she came back to life, and Gautama came and took her back. Again, see, the glorification was mentioned there by Acharya that in Indian traditions, there is no concept of divorce. If a person can divorce his wife with that reason, Gautama can divorce his wife at that point of time, because he was with Indra. But yet, he didn't give up. He said, you purify, then I'll come back and take it. So he came and took her back. Not that he just left her. So that's the concept of Indian traditions. But anyway, that's not the topic anyway. But still. Sabri is also there. Very, very, very glorified. But no, we keep saying, somebody keeps saying, I also heard this. Sabri ate some fruit and then he gave it back. It's so nice to listen that so Rama, because of devotion, she gave the fruit. She tasted it. But that is not then Ramana. He said something which is like, he didn't mention that he ate every berry and then he gave. They said that it is touched by, but not physical touch by Mataji. That it was mentioned that the fruits that came out are from the seeds that are eaten, or from the fruit that are eaten by the spiritual masters. In that way, they are tinged with the pollution. So they ate and they threw the seeds. And because the seeds were there, plants came out. And from those plants which are eaten by man, and the fruit came out of it. And that fruits are offered. Sabri is serving the spiritual master for many years. Having that kind of knowledge, why will she eat and then give money? Because they didn't see Lord Rama as a god. She has seen him as a man coming, and he is serving his her spiritual master. That's all. So she has seen him as a god. She has seen him as a man. Somebody is coming. Who I don't know who he is. He is coming. So because my spiritual master told me to wait, I'll wait. So he came. So she did the service, and she asked him, "Are you satisfied?" Then he said, "I'm satisfied." Then she said, "Okay, give me a paper." She said, "I'm satisfied." Then she said, "Who are you to satisfy?" You didn't mention any name. I said, "Okay, I am satisfied, Rama." Who is Rama? There is Parashurama, there is so many Ramas. Then he said, "Sabariya Pujita Samyak Dasaratmajam." Ramo Dasaratmajam. He said, "I am satisfied with the service of Sabari. I am Rama, the son of Dasaratha." And then she took it and then she left the world. Not that she is doing so much of service to Lord Rama, not in the mood of God at all. Because the exposition of Ramayana is not something to tell about God. It's not Ramacharitra. It's about Ramayana, the path taken by Lord Rama. Correct, Prabhuji? Any other questions? Then otherwise we'll move on.
And another thing, in our Sampradaya, they said when we are like chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama is not this part of Rama, it's like another part of Rama.
It's a Balaram or something to be.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. I asked Rama once, what is Rama here? This is Rama can be seen as Parshurama, Lord Rama, Balarama, but the glorification is going to Balarama only. Any question? Anyone to add anything to asking for Lord Ram? We discussed only 8 points of it. So, but still 8 qualities of it. But if you got any points to tell, you can glorify Lord Ram. It's a very wonderful day today. Rama Navami. Mataji, you want to add anything to Lord Ram? Sivangi Mataji, you want to talk anything about Hanuman?
He's my favorite character from
Yes.
Ramayana.
Tell about him, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So you said that Lord Rama, all the qualities got because of Vishwamitra only.
Yes.
But we don't.
Exposition of the qualities are because of Vishwamitra's teachings, guidelines of Vishwamitra.
Then why Vishwamitra is not
I mean we don't take Vishwamitra as the perfect human being, right? Like who has all the 16 qualities. So why is, I mean, if he is the spiritual master, he also should have all the qualities, right?
If I say, if your spiritual master tells you that God exists everywhere, that's knowledge. If you realize that God exists everywhere, that's realization. It doesn't mean that spiritual master has to realize God is everywhere. One of the qualities of spiritual master is that he has to realize. But I'm telling you in a lame way, that it doesn't mean that he has to be at the topmost. But to be frank, Vishwamitra is the topmost individual. There's no doubt about it. Because the exposition of Ramayana is not on him. He didn't mention. But if you see the life story of Vishwamitra, the quality of a devotee and the progress of a devotee is mentioned in the life history of Vishwamitra. First, he got attracted to some simple things. Obviously, he's a Rishi. He's not even Rishi. He's a king. So he got attracted to some object called Surabhi, the cow. Like we get attached to some objects, material objects. He said, "Why should you have it? I will have it." So he went against his guru. Then out of angry, he came out and said, "I will do some tapasya." And so the tapasya is motivated to do something. That's the first stage of devotion, or first stage of a devotee to a man to become a devotee. Likewise, if you see the history of all the life stages of Vishwamitra, Vishwamitra is the epitome of a devotion. If you see how he progressed, you can reconcile on each and every stage of Vishwamitra to the stage of devotee. Vishwamitra is not an easy man, Prabhuji. He created a new universe for Trishankar. He's that capable enough. He is not small entity. We can talk about 2 hours on Vishwamitra.
No, that is fine.
No, when I get a chance, I'll definitely discuss about Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra is the best among the human beings. The way he led his life. See, Valmiki said there, Rama is Rama because of Vishwamitra. But he didn't mention about, of course, the life story of Vishwamitra is mentioned in the Ramayana also. When Vishwamitra, how Vishwamitra has become, and how did he become Trishankar Swargam, and the levels of fighting with his spiritual master. Because his spiritual master is there, and he is fighting with him. So it was mentioned, but if you see the qualities of how Vishwamitra, before Vishwamitra is some Rishi, some king, and how he became Vishwamitra, you can see the stages of devotion. That is clearly mentioned. It's not that qualities are mentioned there. At that point of time, Vishwamitra is, because Vishwamitra is a Grihastha, he became a Rajarshi, and he is completely out of exile. He is completely not into life. He only came to give all the warfare, all the knowledge that he acquired because of tapasya to Lord Rama. And he came, he taught, and he left. That is the chapter of Vishwamitra in Ramayana. But Vishwamitra is more glorified in other Puranas also, which is in line with Ramayana. So it is considered understood. If it is something like Vishwamitra is seen as another gentle human being, and which is not mentioned in Ramayana, then you must have doubted it. But still they have said he is the best to become devotee. Like I was saying, it's not an easy task to say, to give Gayatri or any mantra to be drasta out of it. You cannot be drasta of Prabhuji. There are only few people who can become drasta. Rasa is drasta of Vedas. A few Vedas. Likewise, Parashurama is there. But Vishwamitra is the drasta of Gayatri Prabhuji. And Lord Rama has to come to take him for understanding of Gayatri. It's not an easy thing. But Vishwamitra is still there. The question I understand, but why is not he mentioned? But yes, because he is not into the complete contemporary life. And he's talking about a man. But Vishwamitra is like a Rishi, saint, who left everything else and became like a Maharshi, a Rajarshi, and then become Brahmarshi. So there are stages of Rishis, isn't it? Rishi, Rajarshi, Brahmarshi, and then how he is. So this is great. Any question, Rohit?
No.
Any question, Rohit? Any question? Okay, I'll conclude with a few slokas, then we'll have our next program. So thank you very much. So this is the conclusion of the class, today's class. I hope you all have enjoyed the 8 qualities of Lord Rama, the part 1. The sequel will be there in some next year or some other time when we get a chance. So this is the qualities of Lord Rama.
Why next year?
We are seasonal devotees. We discuss about the Kada only when the season happens. So likewise. Okay. So if any wrongs or anything wrong that I made, that's because of my ignorance. All the glories or anything that was mentioned here is not because of my own knowledge. It's all because of spiritual master, His Holiness Sinajaya Swami. So he owns all the credits, and any wrongs or anything that I made is because of my ignorance. So please forgive me and bless me that I will also follow the footsteps of Lord Rama. It was said that they keep saying Paropadesha Velayam Sarve Parasara Vyasa. They said if you want to tell to anybody no knowledge, everybody is Vyasa and Parasara only. But if you want to follow, then there is a break. But if you want to tell to anybody, everybody is Vyasa and Parasara. They will be very nice. They will say, we can do this, we can do that. So likewise, it's not that I am following it. I am also like everybody else. So please bless me that I will follow this and serve Lord Rama and Sita and Hanuman, Lakshmana. So I'll conclude now with the slokas. Then we will have the next program. स्वस्ति प्रजापति परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिमयीशाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः सोमस्य नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वसतु पर्जन्यः प्रतिसस्यानि देशं शोभरिता ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः कावेरी वर्ततां काले काले वसतु वासवाः श्रीरङ्गनाथ श्रीरङ्गस्य वदतां कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्धित्वा प्रकृतिस्वभावात् करोमि सकलं परस्मै नारायण सर्पयामि श्रीमन्नारायण सर्पयामि स्मं श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु लक्ष्मी चिरलक्षाङ्क साक्षिवत्सवक्षसे क्षेमङ्कराय सर्वेषां श्रीरङ्गेशाय मङ्गलं श्रीयकान्ताय कल्याणदेवदेवज्ञां श्रीवेङ्कटनिवासाय श्रीनिवासाय मङ्गलम् अस्तु श्रीस्तनकस्तूरी वासनात् वासुरहे श्रीहस्तिगिरिनाथाय देवराजाय मङ्गलं कमलाकस्तूरी कर्दमाङ्कितवक्षसे यादवादिनिवासाय सम्पत्पुत्राय मङ्गलं नीलाचनिवासाय नित्या परमात्मने सुभद्रः प्रणा जगन्नाथाय मङ्गलं स्वचिष्टमालिका बन्धनन्दबन्धविष्णवे विष्णुचित्तनुजाय गोदाय नित्यमङ्गलं श्रीगणीय महापुर्यं समर्पण्युतरे चिन्तनीमूलदां नेसर्गोपाय मङ्गलं शेषवासन्यनादो वस्विपतिवे सात्विके वितक्या महाप्राज्ञै भाष्यकाराय मङ्गलं तुलामूलतनसोषिताखिलस्वरे सोमजा मातृमणिये शेषतायां स्तुमङ्गलं मङ्गलाधनपरैः मदाचार्य पुरोगमैः सर्वैश्च पूर्वैराचार्य सत्कृतायास्तु मङ्गलं जय श्रीनाथ. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.